Well, good afternoon, folks. Want to talk about Zenith landing gears today. And first off, I've got a whole stack of papers here that I'm going to refer to off and on, and then we'll look at some landing gear stuff that I've got. Anyway, before I get started, I want to thank some of the guys on the Zenith list who like to hear themselves talk and will provide misinformation. Because otherwise I wouldn't have nearly as much stuff to talk about, would I? So we had a discussion here a while back between the differences in weight with the Zenith supplied landing gears or Zenith plans built landing gears in their original configuration as compared to the Grove gears. And there's been some claims made that Grove gear is half the weight. And it's okay, we'll edit out the nasty words, but it's pure and simple. We've compared 701 gears, at least to a certain degree. We've compared 750 gears, the actual weight of 750 gears, or at least a 750 gear, and compared it to the published weights from Grove for their gears. They're virtually identical, and from as near as I can gather, why throughout the entire Zenith line the Grove gear is going to be very close in weight to the Zenith plans gear or Zenith supplied gear. There's virtually no difference, within a pound or two. So when we keep hearing these weights of half the weight by going to a Grove gear, it's crap. It's not my opinion. Any idiot can go and do the math, and it's very simple to do the math. You can figure out what your weight is on the materials that are going to go into the Zenith supplied gears according to their plans, and you can compare that to the published weights of Grove's plans, what they publish for, and they're virtually identical. Within a pound or two, for all practical applications, they weigh the same. And one of the things that keeps coming up is, or that's come up again, and the reason I'm a little agitated about this is there was a discussion went on not a month ago that the Grove gear was half the weight by one individual. And we've debunked that. Several people have offered input into that on the list, and we've pretty much proven that they're about the same weight. So there's no difference there. Now in another thread on the same list, why the same individual is spouting the same crap saying that it's half the weight. Well, if it's said enough times, it's going to become fact, and it's bad information. So when we compare them, when you look at Grove's website, and I've been on Grove's website again today, as well as comparing several Zenith weights or advertised weights and that type of thing, and my own personal knowledge of what I know related to the 701, why it's all about the same. When you compare the 701s, the weight of the 701 from Grove is 21 pounds, and this is a 701. So I'm comparing apples to apples here. And that's Grove's claimed weight. When out of 7075 aluminum, which is going to be a stronger alloy, they heat treat them. There are advantages of the Grove gear, and I have no affiliation with Grove. I've got no bone to pick with them. I think it's a fine option if that's what you want to do. But you need to know exactly what you're comparing to. So when you look at a 21 pounds from Grove, when you look at the plans for a Zenith, and you figure out the weight, and I use Online Metals Calculator is the one I used, although there's going to be others on the internet. All you got to do is get on there, you punch in the alloy, you punch in the thickness, the width, and the length, and it will calculate the weight for you. When I compare those with the Zenith supplied plans of the aluminum that's going to go in there, it's virtually identical. I mean, there's virtually no difference at all in them. When you compare 6061, which is what Zenith's suggested alloy is, compared to the 7075, the 7075 is actually a little bit heavier than 6061. And the reality is you can only take away so much weight. You've still got to have so much support. The Grove gears show 7/8 inch, which is thickness, which Zenith shows 3/4. So they've actually added a little bit more material there to get that. Okay, this is my landing gear blank. And this is just the blank. Now I've radiused the edges, and we have a piece of 6061 aluminum. This is actually over length. This is a full 8-foot length, so it's 96 inches long. When I drop it on the scale right down here, it's sitting right on 20 pounds. So you know I'm not lying to you. We're sitting right at 20 pounds for that length of aluminum. Now, when we take that aluminum off of there, we're back at 0. So there's virtually no difference in the weight there. We had a builder that had a 750 gear. Weighed it, it was virtually the same as what they were claiming for Grove. So I think all across the Zenith line, the weight comparison between Grove and Zenith are going to be virtually the same. Now I see a weight on the 601 XL of 32.2 pounds, and we figured that was about right too. It looks like all across the line when we compared the 801 gear weights, why they were the same as Grove. And there again, I talk relative, but they're very close to being the same. The same individual is claiming half the weight for a gear for the 650 between Grove and Zenith. I don't believe it. Now, Grove does not list on their website, as of today anyway, I didn't see it, a weight for the 650. The 601 is at 32.2 pounds. When you look at the differences in size, the things that are there, there's no way. You know, you have to have the same thickness at the mounting points. They have to have the same strength basically going across, and yes, you want to get some weight savings as you can, but it's not going to make any difference. You know, you're not going to any degree thin out the landing gear material that's underneath the fuselage. The ends are tapered down. You can only taper them down so much and still have mounting points to mount your axles and brakes and all of the equipment that's going to go on there. So there's no way it doesn't happen. So it comes down to being informed on what you're doing. And like I say, any idiot can go and find out what these dimensions are. You know, it may take you a call to Grove, it may take you a call to Zenith if you doubt the figures or something like that. But once you know the dimensions for them, you can plug in the numbers for the weights into any of these calculators and it will give you the material weight. And you can't change the material weight. You can only take out so much of that. So when I compared the 701 material, 3/4 by 3 1/4 by 8 foot long, and they're not 8 foot long when they're done. They get trimmed, but I won't trim this blank until after we formed it. When you take those dimensions and you punch them in with 60/61 for an 8 foot piece, it comes out 22.932 pounds. If you do that same calculation with 70/75, it comes out to 23.634 pounds. So there's a little bit of difference there. You know, when I punch those same numbers in for the actual length, which is going to be 84 inches long, is what the final dimensions are, you come in at 20.0655 pounds with 60/61 and 20.6797 pounds for 70/75. So 70/75 is actually heavy. Both of these dimensions or both of these weights are just exactly in line with what I've got here as a you know, for my blank. So the math's there. All you got to do is figure it out. You know, if you're going to do half the weight, that means this landing gear would be 1 5/8 inches thick. Are you going to land a plane with an 1 5/8 inches thick landing gear that's 3/4 inches thick? I don't think so. You know, you can't get rid of that much weight. It's bullshit. But it just comes back to that same old thing of you have to be diligent and do your homework on this stuff so you know what it is. I probably shouldn't be worked up about this, but when you continuously put out the same information, there's going to be some builder that is going to believe that. And if they miss the rest of the information on there, it's quite a disservice to you to spend 3 times as much money, 4 times as much money. Cost on gross right now on the let's see, 701, $1519 plus $250 if you want it gun drilled. The 601 XL is $1979 and $250 for gun drilling. So you're at $2,200, $2,300 by the time you get done for a 601. Imagine, and I don't know because I haven't seen a listing from Grove on their weights, but Zenith shows the weight of their 650 to be about 45 pounds is what they've done. I still think that's probably in line with what you're going to, you know, what you're going to end up with from a Grove gear. So one of the things that's been brought up is bending landing gears. You know, if you land them hard, you're going to bend your landing gears. and Zenith gears will bend easier than 70-75 heat-treated stuff. But for 4 times that money, I'm going to put on bigger tires all the way around. Bigger tires are going to be a little bit more of a shock absorber, so that's the way I'm going to go and say I'm going to be perfectly happy with it. Gun drilling, I think that's a clean option. It looks really nice. I think it does have the potential for a stress crack in those areas where they've been drilled and tapped, mainly where you're installing your fittings and that type of thing. I think it's a very minimal risk, but I think it does have the potential to do that. There was the question of powder coating them, and that would take away your temper. I wouldn't powder coat them anyway, for the simple reason that that gear is going to flex one way or the other, and powders may or may not crack loose from that. You know, it's not going to separate, it's not going to peel off, but you may have some cracking in that powder itself, depending on what powder you're using. As far as changing the temper on them, you know, you can get powders that will cure at about 350 degrees. That's going to be well within the range without affecting temper, you know, if you're careful doing that. The problem's going to be, unless you've got the facilities to do that yourself, you're not going to have as much control as you want over that powder coat process. And yes, you could affect the temper if you send it out to someone else to do it. So anyway, those are my rants for the day. I think they're valid rants. I've got nothing against anybody that's involved in this conversation, other than the fact that when they continue to put out misinformation, it irritates me. You know, I think that's doing a disservice to the home builders community. A lot of people will continue to post things to hear themselves talk, and I'm somewhat active on that Zenith list, and I follow it every day. I know what's going on. There's a lot of things that I have opinions on that I do not post my opinion, because it's just that it's my opinion. I don't have first-hand knowledge of that. I don't have the full information or enough information to make a statement saying it's this way or that way. But like I say, the weights on these landing gears, you can't dispute that. That's not my opinion. That's, do the math. You know, it will tell you what's right and what's wrong. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I hope you have a good weekend. If this has been a little bit informative to you, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button. If you hit the bell notification, you'll know when I put out a new video. And any comments or suggestions or complaints, leave them in the comments section for me below. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.